Did you know that all humans originally came from Africa? It's true. Africa is like the super-duper old home of everyone on Earth. Let's go on an adventure to explore the awesome history of this amazing continent. Long, long ago, even before there were pyramids or castles, the very first humans lived in Africa. Scientists have found super old bones and tools in places like Morocco and Ethiopia that show people were living there over 300,000 years ago. That's way before your great-great-great-grandparents, many times over. Because of these discoveries, Africa is often called the cradle of humankind. Imagine a baby's cradle, but instead of a baby, it's where all of us humans started. One of the most famous ancient civilizations in Africa is ancient Egypt. It grew up along the Nile River, which is like a long, green snake winding through the desert. Around 3100 BC, which is over 5,000 years ago, a king named Nama united Upper and Lower Egypt, and that was the start of ancient Egypt as we know it. They built huge pyramids that are still standing today. These pyramids were like giant tombs for the pharaohs, who were the kings of Egypt. Can you imagine building something so big that it lasts for thousands of years? Some famous pharaohs include Hatshepsut, who was a queen and ruled like a king, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, and Ramesses II. They each had their own amazing stories and ruled over a powerful kingdom. But Egypt wasn't the only cool kingdom in Africa. South of Egypt, in what is now Sudan, was the kingdom of Kush. They were so powerful that they even ruled Egypt for a while. Think of it like this, they were neighbors who took turns being in charge. Then there was Carthage in Tunisia, a city founded by people from Phoenicia. It became a big trading center and a powerful force in the Mediterranean Sea. And in Ethiopia and Eritrea, there was the kingdom of Aksum. They were one of the first kingdoms in the world to become Christian, way back in the 4th century. West Africa also had some amazing empires. The Ghana Empire was a big deal from about 300 to 1200 CE. They were super good at trading gold. Then came the Mali Empire, which became famous because of its ruler, Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa was so rich that when he went on a pilgrimage to Mecca, he brought so much gold that it affected the economy of the places he visited. People say he was one of the richest people who ever lived. After the Mali Empire, the Songhai Empire became the big kid on the block. They were known for their strong army and their leader, Askia Muhammad I. In southern Africa, there was a place called Great Zimbabwe. It was a huge city with massive stone walls and towers, all built without using any cement. It was a major trading center and showed that people in Africa were building amazing things long before Europeans came. And in what is now Nigeria, there was the Benin Kingdom. They were famous for their incredible bronze sculptures. These sculptures showed their kings and queens and told stories about their history. All these kingdoms were connected by trade routes that crossed the Sahara Desert. People traded gold, salt, and other valuable goods. Cities like Timbuktu, Gao, and Jen became important centers of learning and culture. They had universities and libraries where scholars studied everything from math to astronomy. Sadly, not all of African history is happy and bright. For many years, there was a terrible thing called the slave trade. People from Africa were captured and forced to work in other countries. Millions of Africans were taken from their homes and families, and it caused a lot of pain and suffering. Then, in the late 1800s, European countries decided to take over almost all of Africa. This was called the Scramble for Africa. They drew lines on a map and divided up the continent without even asking the African people who lived there. This led to many problems and conflicts. But the African people never gave up hope. They fought for their freedom and independence. In the 1950s and 1960s, many African countries finally became independent. Leaders like Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana and Nelson Mandela in South Africa fought for freedom and equality. Even after gaining independence, African countries faced many challenges. But they have been working together to build a better future. The Organization of African Unity and now the African Union were created to help African countries cooperate and solve problems together. Africa is a continent with so many different cultures, languages, and stories. It's a place where the first humans lived, where amazing kingdoms rose and fell, and where people are working hard to create a brighter future. So, next time you think about Africa, remember that it's not just one big story, but a collection of thousands of amazing stories waiting to be told. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be part of that story too. Africa is not just a place on the map. It's the starting point of human history, and it continues to shape the world we live in today.